Throughout history, the world has seen countless notorious criminals. But in Colombia, South America, there once lived a man who wasn't just ruthless and powerful, he was also one of the richest people on earth. This man was Pablo Escobar, the undisputed king of the cocaine empire. By the late 1980s, his net worth was estimated at $25 billion. To put that into perspective, Colombia's total GDP at the time was around $39 billion, meaning Escobar alone controlled wealth equal to nearly 65% of his country's entire economy. He was so rich that his cartel didn't even count money anymore, they weighed it by the kilo. Escobar had warehouses overflowing with cash, and every year rats destroyed about 10% of his fortune just by eating it. He spent money like water, buying islands, private zoos, soccer fields, luxury cars, submarines and airplanes, and yet when his daughter once felt cold, he burned millions of dollars in cash just to keep her warm. Even after that, his fortune barely moved. Escobar lived by one brutal rule: plata or plomo. It meant, join him and he'd make you rich enough that your next 7 generations would live in luxury. But oppose him, and not only you, but your entire family would be buried in the ground. Because of this, politicians, police, ministers, journalists, even judges, everyone ended up in his pocket. And those who didn't, he silenced forever. Over his bloody career, Escobar is believed to have killed more than 4,000 people, including over 600 police officers. His very name struck fear, and his power was so immense that even the country's constitution could be changed at his command. When he was finally arrested, it was only on his own terms. The prison was one he built himself, guarded by his own men. This is the story of the world's most feared and wealthiest drug lord, Pablo Escobar. A man whose empire was so vast that even more than 20 years after his death, no one has ever come close to his level. At the height of his reign, the Escobar family reportedly smuggled over 1,100 pounds of refined cocaine into the United States every single month. Drug trafficker, billionaire killer, to most, a monster, but to some, a hero. Pablo Escobar was born in December 1949 in the Colombian town of Rio Negro. He was the third of 7 children. His father was a farmer, and his mother worked as a school teacher. Shortly after his birth, the family moved to Medellín, where Pablo grew up and went to school. In his early years, Escobar dreamed of becoming a lawyer, maybe even a politician. He once said he wanted to be president of Colombia, but as he grew older, his ambitions shifted. He realized that in this world, the greatest power didn't belong to lawyers or politicians, it belonged to those who had money. That lesson hit hard when his family's poor financial condition forced him to drop out of school. From then on, Escobar made himself a promise: he would get rich fast. In fact, he vowed that if he didn't earn 1 million pesos by the age of 25, he would take his own life. That obsession with wealth drove him headfirst into crime. Alongside his cousin Gustavo Gaviria, Pablo started with small illegal hustles, selling fake diplomas, smuggling stereo equipment, and even stealing tombstones to resell them. But he quickly realized that petty crimes would never make him truly rich. So, before he even turned 20, Escobar escalated to car theft and kidnappings. He made money stripping stolen cars for parts, and when he kidnapped wealthy Colombians, he demanded huge ransoms. Sometimes, even after being paid, he killed his victims anyway, just to send a message. In 1971, for example, Escobar kidnapped a well-known industrialist named Diego Echevarria, demanding $50,000 for his release. The ransom was paid, but Pablo killed him regardless. By the age of 22, Pablo had kept his promise to himself. He was already a millionaire, but as his reputation grew, so did police attention. After multiple narrow escapes, Escobar was finally arrested in 1974 for car theft and spent several months in prison. Instead of breaking him, the experience taught him how to bribe officials and bend the system to his advantage. At first, Escobar dabbled in crimes like robbery, forgery, and murder, but when he discovered the cocaine trade, everything changed. By the mid-1970s, Colombian traffickers were making fortunes smuggling cocaine into the United States. Pablo saw the opportunity and seized it. He started by working under established drug lords, learning the routes, the networks, and making critical connections, but he knew he could never build real wealth working for someone else. So in 1975, Escobar made his move. He had Medellin's leading trafficker, Fabio Restrepo, assassinated. Then he gave Restrepo's men a choice: work for him or die. They chose Escobar. The very next year, in 1976, Pablo partnered with the Ochoa brothers, Carlos Leda and Jorge Luis Ochoa, to form what would soon become the infamous Medellín Cartel. Their business controlled every step of the cocaine pipeline, from production to distribution. Escobar had connections with producers, transport experts, and corrupt government officials. He smuggled cocaine in car tires, televisions, even inside fish and condoms. Airplane tires were another favorite method, and he paid pilots up to $500,000 per flight to move his product. The cartel expanded quickly. Pablo reinvested his fortune into submarines and aircraft to transport cocaine from Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador directly into the US. Despite being surrounded by cocaine 24/7, Escobar never used the drug himself, a fact that earned him trust among his associates. In March 1976, Escobar married Maria Victoria Henao, who was only 15 years old at the time, 11 years younger than him. But his marriage was quickly overshadowed by legal troubles. Just months later, in June, Colombian intelligence seized 40 pounds of cocaine hidden in Pablo's car tires. Escobar and 6 of his men were arrested, but jail couldn't hold him. He had learned the tricks of the underworld: bribes, intimidation, and violence. He paid off some officials, threatened others, and walked free. To make an example, he later killed the 2 agents responsible for his arrest. This was the beginning of Escobar's infamous motto, plata or plomo, silver or lead. Take his bribe and get rich, or refuse and die. For journalists, police officers, ministers, and judges, these were the only 2 options. Fear spread fast, people took the bribes. His business exploded. Escobar even bought massive properties to expand operations. On Norman's Cay, an island in the Bahamas, he built a kilometer-long airstrip, purchased aircraft, boats, houses, and even a refrigerated warehouse to store cocaine. It became the cartel's central hub for smuggling into the US, specifically Florida, which was just a short flight away. He also struck deals with other Colombian cartels. If they shipped cocaine through his network, Pablo would cover any losses if shipments were seized. In exchange, he took a hefty cut of their profits. Soon, nearly every major Colombian trafficker was running product through Escobar's operation. By the late 1970s, Pablo Escobar controlled the global cocaine trade. His cartel supplied 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States and dominated the markets in Mexico, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, and Spain. At his peak, Escobar was earning $420 million every week. The world called him the King of Cocaine. His wealth became almost impossible to measure. Each month, he spent $2,500 just on rubber bands to bundle his cash. Counting it was useless. They weighed it instead. Every year, billions of dollars rotted away in warehouses or were eaten by rats. And still, the money never stopped flowing. Escobar lived like royalty. Private planes, helicopters, luxury cars, buildings, estates. His most famous property was the Hacienda Nápoles in Medellín, a sprawling estate filled with exotic animals, private runways, and endless luxuries. On his sprawling 7,000-acre estate, Pablo Escobar built a mansion so extravagant that the land alone was worth $63 million. It had a private airport, a heliport, multiple artificial lakes, 6 swimming pools, soccer fields, bullfighting arenas, tennis courts, dinosaur statues, and even his own private zoo. Escobar's zoo housed more than 200 exotic animals, including elephants, lions, rhinoceroses, gazelles, zebras, hippos, camels, and ostriches. Many of these animals weren't even native to Colombia, so he smuggled them in using his private planes. By then, Escobar had so much money and influence that the world was literally in the palm of his hand. He could buy anything or anyone he wanted. He had built a fortune so vast that his descendants could have lived off it for generations. But even all that wasn't enough. Power was an addiction, and Pablo Escobar wanted more. He turned back to his childhood dream, politics. His plan was simple. If he became a politician, he could shield himself from the law forever. So he launched a Robin Hood strategy. Escobar poured money into public welfare projects, building houses, schools, hospitals, churches, parks, and stadiums for the poor. In return, the people adored him. To many Colombians, he wasn't just a criminal, he was their savior. By 1982, Escobar's popularity propelled him into politics. He campaigned for a seat in Colombia's parliament and won, becoming the substitute for legislator Jairo Ortega. Suddenly, the country's most notorious drug lord was sitting in the halls of power. The world was stunned. At one point, Escobar was even sent to Spain as an official Colombian government representative, despite being the single largest supplier of cocaine to Spain itself. Politics made him more powerful than ever, and his cartel was thriving, controlling 80% of the world's cocaine trade. Escobar now dreamed of something bigger, the presidency of Colombia. But his political career was short-lived. opponents began exposing his criminal past. The final blow came when Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla launched a full investigation, uncovering Escobar's drug money, properties, and aircraft. Newspapers like El Espectador publicly exposed him, stripping away the Robin Hood myth. By January 1984, Escobar resigned from Congress, retreating from politics, but he didn't forgive or forget. Later that year, both Justice Minister Lara Bonilla and El Espectador's editor were assassinated, executed as revenge. Escobar's rising violence pushed the Colombian government to act. An arrest warrant was issued, forcing him into hiding. Meanwhile, Colombia signed an extradition treaty with the United States, allowing drug traffickers like Escobar to be sent to US prisons. For Pablo, this was the ultimate nightmare. He knew that in Colombia, he could bribe judges, escape prison, and live freely. But in the US, there would be no escape. To avoid extradition, he offered the Colombian government a deal. If they refused to hand him over to America, he would personally pay off Colombia's $10 billion national debt. The government rejected it, so Escobar turned to violence. He created Los Extraditables, a terror group that hunted down and assassinated anyone supporting extradition. He even funded the left-wing guerrilla group N19, who in 1985 stormed Colombia's Supreme Court, killing half the nation's top judges and burning thousands of legal documents, including the extradition files. It was clear now, Pablo Escobar wasn't just at war with the police, he was at war with his own country, but his problems only grew worse. Colombia's new president, Vigilio Barco, renewed the extradition treaty with the US, while Colombian forces with American support raided Escobar's cocaine labs and seized shipments. At the same time, Escobar's bitter rivals, the Cali Cartel, saw an opportunity to strike. Pablo retaliated with brutal force. He ordered assassinations of Cali members and even detonated 70 kilograms of dynamite outside one of their buildings, nearly killing the cartel leader's family. In return, he bombed dozens of Cali-owned properties into rubble. The war left both sides bleeding, but neither victorious. By 1989, Escobar was more dangerous than ever. That year, his net worth soared to $25 billion, making him the 7th richest person in the world. At the same time, his reign of terror reached its peak. In just 1 year, his cartel planted over 100 bombs across major Colombian cities, killing hundreds. Killing had become second nature to him. Politicians, journalists, judges, police, civilians, no one was safe. In August 1989, Escobar assassinated Luis Carlos Galán, the leading candidate for president. Just 3 months later, in November, he bombed Avianca Flight 23, attempting to kill another candidate, Cesar Gaviria. The plane exploded mid-air, killing over 100 innocent people, but Gaviria survived only because he missed the flight. He went on to become Colombia's next president. The Colombian government fought back hard. Escobar's cousin and right-hand man Gustavo Gaviria was killed, along with other close associates like Fabio Ochoa and Roberto Escobar. Hundreds of his men were arrested. Still, Escobar fought on. His war against the state only ended in 1991, when Colombian authorities finally made him an offer. The law that allowed criminals to be extradited to America was abolished. Many believe Pablo Escobar was behind this change, but that wasn't enough for him. Using sheer terror, he forced the government to give him even more freedom. In June 1991, Escobar surrendered on one shocking condition. He would live in a prison he built for himself, guarded only by his own men. He even demanded that Colombian police stay at least 12 miles away from it. With the country drowning in bombings and murders ordered by him, the government had no choice but to accept. For the first time in history, a criminal was given the luxury of living in his own prison. Escobar called it La Catedral, a fortress disguised as a 5-star resort. His cells had plush beds, imported furniture, TVs, music systems, a personal library, and carpeted floors. The prison also had a soccer field, bar, and pool tables. Celebrities, soccer players, and beauty queens would visit him regularly. Behind the walls, Escobar lived like a king. His cartel continued to smuggle 15 tons of cocaine into the US every single day, making him richer than ever. Prison changed nothing. His empire was untouched. But his arrogance betrayed him. One day, Escobar brutally tortured and killed 2 of his own men inside La Catedral. That was the breaking point. The government finally realized, as long as he stayed there, his business and his brutality would never stop. Tipped off by his network, he vanished before soldiers even entered. His escape was a humiliation for Colombia, and Washington was furious. The US wanted Escobar stopped at any cost. The DEA teamed up with Colombian police and military to form a special task force called Search Block, dedicated to hunting him down. A bounty of 2.7 million pesos was announced for anyone providing valuable information. But the government wasn't his only enemy. A paramilitary death squad called Los Pepes, made up of Escobar's rivals and families of his victims, also declared war on him. Escobar had already killed over 4,000 people, including hundreds of police officers. Now thousands were eager to see him fall. For the first time, Escobar's billions couldn't protect him. His associates were hunted by the police, while Los Pepes executed his men one by one. He managed to stay on the run for over a year, but his downfall came on his 44th birthday. December went through 1993. Celebrating in a safe house in Medellín, he spent hours on the phone with his family. What he didn't know was that US technology was tracing his calls. The very next day, December 20th, 1993, Colombian police stormed the building. Escobar and a bodyguard tried to escape across the rooftop. A firefight erupted. Bullets ripped through the air until the world's richest drug lord, the man who destroyed countless lives, collapsed dead within seconds, shot by police. Others insist he took his own life. As he often said, better to die in Colombia than rot in an American prison. Whatever the truth, Pablo Escobar, the king of cocaine, was dead. 25,000 mourners gathered to grieve the man many saw as their savior. Even after him, other drug lords rose to power, but none would ever reach the myth, the terror, and the wealth of Pablo Escobar, the only criminal who sat on the Forbes list of the world's richest men for 7 straight years